if I told you that somewhere in a secure facility, there sits a living room where the furniture breathes, where the walls pulse with a heartbeat, and where anyone who falls asleep never wakes up the same way again? Welcome back to the darkest corners of the SCP Foundation. I'm your guide through the anomalous, and today, we're entering SCP-002. The SCP Foundation has cataloged thousands of anomalies. Some are objects, some are creatures. But SCP-002. SCP-002 is something else entirely. It's not just alive, it's hungry. Designated as the living room, SCP-002 appears to be a luxurious, perfectly furnished living space. Persian rugs, mahogany furniture, crystal chandeliers. Everything you'd expect in a wealthy home from the 1920s. But here's what the Foundation doesn't want you to know. Every single piece of furniture, every wall, every decorative element, is made of human flesh and bone. And it's still growing. From the outside, SCP-002 resembles a large, fleshy tumor. Picture a mass of organic tissue, roughly 12 feet in diameter, sitting motionless in a containment chamber. The surface is smooth, almost wet-looking, with a pale pink hue that shifts slightly under different lighting. But the real horror begins when you find the entrance. There's a small opening, just large enough for a human to crawl through. The Foundation calls it the aperture. Those who've entered describe it as warm, uncomfortably warm, like crawling into the mouth of a sleeping giant. Once inside, the transformation is jarring. You're no longer in a biological mass. You're in what appears to be an elegant 1920s living room. The walls are papered with what looks like expensive wallpaper, but closer inspection reveals it's actually treated human skin, stretched and preserved with impossible precision. The furniture tells an even more disturbing story. The sofa, soft, inviting, upholstered in what analysis confirms is human muscle tissue, still warm to the touch. The coffee table, polished bone, fused and shaped with surgical precision. Even the chandelier above, delicate human teeth suspended on sinews, catching light like expensive crystal. But perhaps most unsettling of all, the room is perfectly maintained. No decay, no smell of death, just the faint sound of a heartbeat echoing through the walls. Nip Tim Du Dan Trong Nan. The Foundation first discovered SCP-002 in 19, after investigating a series of missing persons reports in Montana. Entire families had vanished overnight, leaving behind homes that looked lived in, meals half finished on tables, television sets still warm. The pattern was always the same. No signs of struggle, no evidence of forced entry. People simply disappeared. But with each disappearance, local residents reported seeing a strange, flesh-colored mass in the nearby woods, growing larger after every incident. When Foundation agents finally located SCP-002, they made a chilling discovery. The living room inside wasn't just furnished with human remains, it was furnished with specific human remains. DNA analysis revealed that the sofa contained tissue from the Morrison family, the armchair, the Hendersons, the decorative lamp, little Sarah Chun, age 7. Each family had become part of the room's decor, transformed and integrated into SCP-002's growing interior. But here's what still haunts Foundation researchers. The room wasn't just using their bodies. It was using their memories. Personal belongings began appearing inside SCP-002 that had no biological origin. Family photographs, wedding rings, children's toys. But these items weren't brought in from outside. Security footage confirmed that no one had entered the chamber carrying these objects. SCP-002 was somehow recreating these items, building them from organic matter while preserving every detail. A child's teddy bear, reconstructed from cartilage and keratin, but identical down to the missing button eye. A wedding photograph, printed on what appeared to be treated skin, showing faces that would never age again. Dr. the lead researcher on the project, noted in his final report, SCP-002 doesn't just consume people. It absorbs their essence, their memories, their very identity, and uses that information to expand itself. It's not just growing larger, it's becoming more complete. That was Dr. S.'s last official entry. 3 days later, his keycard was used to access SCP-002's chamber after hours. Security found no trace of him, but the living room had gained a new bookshelf filled with medical texts and research journals. Why does the SCP Foundation keep SCP-002? Why not destroy it, incinerate it, eliminate the threat entirely? The answer lies in failed termination attempt 002, Alpha. When Foundation personnel tried to damage SCP-002's exterior, something unprecedented happened. Every person within a 50-mile radius began experiencing shared dreams. Dreams of sitting in that living room. Dreams of feeling welcomed, comfortable, at home. The dreams were so vivid, so appealing, that people began sleepwalking toward SCP-002's location. Entire towns emptied as residents unconsciously made pilgrimages to feed themselves to the anomaly. The Foundation was forced to halt all termination attempts and implement the current containment protocols. SCP-002 had taught them a terrifying lesson. It wasn't just a predator. It was a predator that could call its prey from hundreds of miles away. But this raises an even more disturbing question. If SCP-002 can influence people across such vast distances when threatened, what else might it be capable of? SCP-002 isn't unique in its biological horror. The Foundation has cataloged several anomalies that share similar characteristics. SCP-610, known as the flesh that hates, transforms living tissue into hostile, infectious biomass. But unlike SCP-002, it destroys rather than preserves consciousness. Then there's SCP-1981, the Ronald Reagan cut-up while talking tape, which demonstrates reality-altering properties through media consumption. While seemingly different, both anomalies share the ability to trap human consciousness in altered states. But perhaps most relevant is SCP classified, which suggests that SCP-002 might not be terrestrial in origin. Certain biological markers found in SCP-002's tissue don't match any known Earth-based organisms. The cellular structure shows patterns that some researchers believe indicate extraterrestrial origin. Could SCP-002 be an alien organism, learning to mimic human environments? Is the living room just its attempt to understand our species before something larger? If you're watching this video, you need to understand something. The Foundation has documented 17 cases of SCP-002, like phenomena appearing in abandoned buildings across North America. Empty houses where the furniture feels too warm. Apartments where the walls seem to pulse when no one's looking. Living rooms that feel more alive than they should. If you ever find yourself in an unfamiliar space that feels perfect, too comfortable, if the furniture seems to mold itself to your body, if the room temperature matches your preferences exactly, if you feel an overwhelming urge to lie down and rest, leave immediately. Don't look back. Don't try to take anything with you. And whatever you do, don't fall asleep. Because once SCP-002 has your scent, once it knows what makes you feel at home, it will never stop trying to make you part of its collection. But here's what the Foundation's official documentation doesn't tell you. SCP-002's growth rate has been accelerating. When first contained in 19, it absorbed approximately one person every 6 months. Recent data suggests it now requires new material every few weeks. More disturbing still, the living room's layout has been changing. New rooms appear overnight. A kitchen, a bedroom, a nursery with a crib made of what DNA analysis confirms is infant bone structure. SCP-002 isn't just maintaining itself anymore. It's expanding, building, preparing for something. Foundation researchers have detected electromagnetic anomalies surrounding the containment chamber, patterns that suggest SCP-002 might be communicating, but with what or whom? Perhaps the most terrifying aspect of SCP-002 isn't what it does to its victims. It's what it reveals about us. Every person who's entered that living room, every family that's been absorbed, reports the same thing in their final moments. They felt at peace. They felt welcomed. They felt home. What does it say about humanity that our greatest comfort, our deepest desire for belonging, can be so perfectly replicated by something that wants to consume us? Maybe SCP SCP-002 isn't an alien predator learning to mimic us. Maybe it's a mirror, showing us exactly what we are beneath the surface. Creatures desperate for comfort, for belonging, for a place where we can finally rest. Even if that rest is eternal. I want to encourage you to explore SCP-002 further on your own. Visit the SCP Foundation Wiki. Read the original documentation. Form your own theories about what SCP-002 truly represents. Because the Foundation's official stance is just one perspective. There are researchers who believe SCP-002 is trying to help us in its own twisted way. Others think it's a weapon deployed by some unknown enemy. And a few believe it's not anomalous at all, but a natural evolution of human consciousness. What do you think? Is SCP-002 a predator? A misguided caretaker? Or something else entirely? The SCP Foundation contains thousands of anomalies, but few are as intimately terrifying as SCP-002. It doesn't just threaten our bodies, it threatens our very concept of home, of safety, of belonging. But SCP-002 isn't the only biological anomaly that challenges our understanding of life and death. Next time, we'll explore something even more insidious. Something that starts as a simple organic computer, but ends as something that could rewrite the very fabric of reality itself. SCP-003, the biological motherboard, where technology meets biology, and neither survives unchanged. Until then, check your living room tonight. Make sure everything is exactly where you left it. And if something feels different, if something feels too perfect, remember what you learned here.